Johnson & Wales University and the Distinguished Visiting Chef Committee proudly presents the Distinguished Visiting Chef Series, an educational resource and video reference library for culinary students and professionals.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. All right, you guys have to be excited today because I'm very excited. Before I tell you how excited I am, let me introduce myself. My name is Adam Joseph. I'm the director of the Culinary Events Department. Before I go any further, I'd like to introduce my boss, the one who ensures that all of you get the best culinary education you possibly can get. Our Dean of College of Culinary Arts, Chef Kevin Duffy. Everybody give Chef Duffy a round of applause and good morning. So welcome to our 165th Distinguished Visiting Chef. Before we go any further, again, can everybody please check their cell phones? Make sure they are on vibrate. And we still have some students coming in. Welcome, good morning. I'm going to make this introduction short as possible because you have such a big treat today. I'm excited. I hope that you are as equally excited. I hope that you leave here, you are more than just excited, you're inspired, have been educated, and more goal-oriented than you were when you came today. The chef that we have here today is not only a chef, he's an artist, entrepreneur, an inventor, a pioneer in American French culinary cuisine. He's made a lot of lists. His accolades go on and on and on. A couple of big ones are Forbes 2010, New York Post 2010, New York Times, Wall Street Journal. The list goes on and on and on. You guys have to pay attention. Listen, I've heard the term, watch with your ears, listen with your eyes. You have to watch this man. He's absolutely incredible. Before we introduce the chef and we give him the hugest round of applause, I would like to introduce the man who makes this Distinguished Visiting Chef program possible. He was there from day one. He started the program. He has over 60 years in the culinary arts business. Chef Stanley Nikas, please. So with no further ado, I would like to introduce a really, really cool chef. I think you guys need to really, really watch this. Ask questions. I'll come around with the microphone if you guys have questions. Chef will answer anything while he's doing his demo. Please give Chef David Burke the biggest round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you. It's nice to be up in Providence. Johnson & Wales, I've been up here a few times throughout my career, and we've been here for a couple days prepping, and I want to thank everybody that's helped us out and hanging out with Stanley and having dinner in a couple local places. Stanley's been cooking before I was born, so I've got some really good stories from him over, and to see a guy like him still dressing in whites every day, still loves food, it's really inspirational. So I hope you guys get inspired by him as much as I do, and hopefully by what we teach you today. The faculty and everybody else. It's really been a pleasure so far. Now the fun starts. The fun starts for us. We're going to cook. We prepped. Sylvan is my chef at Fishtail in New York, and Fishtail's on the cover of our magazine that we produce 2 or 3 times a year. And Sylvan's been the chef at David Burke Townhouse also, and he's been with me about 5 years. We're going to start to talk about meat, and we're going to do meat and lobster and a couple other things. If you have any questions about where I started and my career and how I got started, just ask me as we go. I just want to get started cooking. I started as a dishwasher in New Jersey in 1977. I went to the CIA, graduated in 82, I moved to Europe, and that's how I got started. So, and then from back to pastry school, this, that, and mainly my career was in New York City, and still is. My base for my company is there. So we're going to talk about one of our latest restaurants, which is in the casino close by in Foxwoods. We have a place called David Burke Prime, and it's a really big steakhouse and a good steakhouse. And we just got some beef delivered. This was not part of our plan today, but we like to get carried away. Because I think it's important that, you know, beef is, especially when you're a culinary student, you think steak, it's not fancy enough, and everybody, at least when I was a chef student, I wanted to be a saucier. That was it. I didn't care about nutrition, sanitation, cost control. I just wanted to make sauces. You know, and there was the Apocalypse Now movie, and it was a guy on there, the opening scene is This guy's getting shot at on a boat, and he's like, all I want to be was a saucier. Anyway, that has changed. I think people just want to be food scientists now, too. They want to make powder out of olive oil and all that, and it's all great stuff, too, and I enjoy doing that stuff. But some real serious science about food starts with beef, and we're proud to say we just got a United States patent on dry aging beef, and a lot of people don't know what dry aging is, but we've played enough around with it. You have 2 pieces of beef here. That is a fresh piece of meat that got delivered on, I don't know, what's the date on that? The date on that in red? Oh, he can't read. See, he's young and he can't read. January 19th. This one, so it's been in our cooler now for less than a week. This one came in November 17th. So this has been in my cooler for 100 days or so. And so this beef has not rotted. It's protected by salt walls. This is a piece of salt from the Himalayas. This is a brick of salt. We use this for architectural reasons to build walls like bars. And we also, more importantly, age our beef with this. So inside the walk-in, the walls are made of salt. Salt kills bacteria, as you know. Just like there's a baking soda in your fridge at home. Somewhat like that. Kills odors, preserves things. This preserves our meat. So we can age for 5 years without mold and rot. And the key behind aging is that you tenderize beef, the meat shrinks, dehydrates, compacts flavor, just like a Parmesan starts like this and goes like this. So the older it is, the more intensive flavor. So that's what and that's all the science. Umami's created in dry aged beef as well as dry aged Parmesan, and also in tomatoes, and also yeast. That's why pizza's so delicious. You've got 3 hits of that flavor. So that's the beef part. I'm gonna pass this around too. This is a 55-day piece of meat, and this is a fresh one. And again, we'll talk about marbling and all that a little later, because there's a lot of other stuff we want to get to. And if you smell them, you'll smell a funk on the older one, and the fresh one's still good steak. But dry-aged beef is one of the greatest things that you can. When the foie gras and the caviar and the sea urchin and the shark fin and all that good stuff is said and done, beef is still it still ranks up there as amongst the great pleasures of eating. And that's enough. I still like fancy food. Don't get me wrong, but beef. You know, especially for students, we think of steakhouses as too simple, but in fact they're the most popular, and they're the longest lasting, and they're recession proof. Nowadays you have steakhouses that are being run by celebrity chefs, Charlie Palmer, John George, you name it, Wolfgang Puck, because there's so much that we can do with that. And a steakhouse is almost like a diner, and you can almost do anything you want. So Van's going to cut this beef, which is really, Yeah, the beef fat too, because the aging process is so unique to us, and it takes up a lot of real estate. We don't throw any of the fat away. You see the crust on the outside? That gets thrown away, but the fat we cook down, we call it love. This is what we use to marinate or paint on our steaks afterwards instead of butter. There's restaurants like Ruth Chris and perhaps Morton's that'll throw butter on afterwards. We make our own butter, and that's what we call beef butter. We call it love. And you'll get it. You'll see when we roast, you'll see aroma and all that. All right, we're going to get into. I think you have recipes. First dish is going to be lobster, and these are some signature dishes and some technique that I think you'll find interesting. So lobster steak is something I did in a competition. If you ever heard of Bocuse d'Or, they choose someone from the U.S. to represent. And I did this in Chicago in the 80s. And it's a steak made of lobster. The first thing you do here is and I did this ahead of time. This is a puree of shrimp and butter. Just shrimp and butter. So it's shrimp, butter, pureed equal amounts. So the shrimp has to be room temp. The butter has to be room temp. If you know what a buttercream is, think of a buttercream using protein besides eggs. All right, this is the shrimp. Add the really melted butter. I have herbs and lemon in here. And we poached some lobster. And you can see it's very translucent. Not quite cooked all the way. I like to keep it even a little rarer than this. Some of the mousse is here. And we call it a mousse, and it's really not a mousse. It's a paste. And if you were going to make, you know what a Chinese shrimp toast is? It's almost similar to that, except that has no butter in it. That's just shrimp. Same. So we try to keep the claws whole and try to keep the meat as big as possible because we want it to represent your filet mignon. Now this could be made into a terrine as well. Okay. Any questions on this, on the buttercream? There's a ring mold. We're going to put the claws in here, in the sides, and then we're going to pack the meat in. And this is a dish that's on the menu at Townhouse, which is our fanciest restaurant, and that's on 61st between Park Ave and Lexington. You know what we're going to need is a little flour, a little. So now this is one lobster steak. You see, when you eat lobster, normally you boil it or you bake it. When you boil lobster, all the good juice goes into the boiling pot. So you're really left with texture of lobster, and then you dip it in drawn butter, which adds some flavor, but you know, you get texture. Here you've got a really rare lobster that is wrapped in puree of another shellfish, shrimp, with butter. So you're getting the same thing, but the butter will be locked in. You'll see when we cook this, so I get a little flour. And you've got a filet mignon. Now the reason this was created was in my restaurants back then, the River Cafe in Brooklyn, and these fancier places, nobody wants to eat a 2-pound steamed lobster because they don't want to get dirty. They don't want to put a bib on. So this is really a knife and fork way of putting it out. So we're going to start with this. And butter. So we're going to put a little bit of flour on each side. And I'm going to cook it right in the ring here. Normally, I'd wrap it in foil or leek because we'll make 50 of these ahead of time. And so we're gonna poêle this and finish it in the oven nice and slowly. Now with that same mousse and the same lobster shells, we do another dish. And you're gonna see us do a lot of that today. We make dumplings. And again, I call it a mousse. It's not a mousse, it's a paste. And these work for us for our soup of the day, lobster bisque, garnishes for hors d'oeuvre parties, etc. And we use these little guys as our pot sticker holders. And it's funny, we don't really, I didn't realize I get pulled out of the kitchen a lot, so I'm not cooking as much. Thankfully, I have guys like Sylvana. But we must have used these shells 5 times yesterday. We made lobster oil, lobster cream, lobster foam. We just kept cooking these shells, and that's really what it takes to utilize and extract flavor. Old school style, or not just using it and throwing it away. So this is the same idea here. How do you get 2 dishes out of 1 dish, or how do you utilize something for the next day and still keep it in? So I'm going to throw a little fennel in the pan also here, because that's going to be one of our garnishes. And we make little dumplings here. you go. That's one to finish. You can drop those right in the water. These can be fried, they can be boiled. So we try to stretch as much as we can out of one product. If we're going to be doing the labor or doing the work, we try to get 2 or 3 dishes out of something. Mushrooms, again, for mushroom soup. You pinch the end, you got yourself a dumpling in the water. See what you got here now? You've got a beautiful golden brown. You throw a little bit more butter in. Don't be afraid of butter. That's going to be our sauce. We're going to put this in the oven. That's lobster steak. And we're also going to I'm going to put this in the oven and heat it up. These are peppercorns. Yeah, we're going to start to do a scrambled egg with lobster. We have all this lobster cooked. We go into our brunch menus. This is peppercorns we're going to heat up. And we'll show you another dish that we do quite often. This is an ostrich egg. One of our logos is an egg. We've been known as the egg people for a while, doing all kinds of things, quail eggs, ostrich egg, emu eggs, and eggs in general, using eggshells. And one of them is very simple, scrambled eggs. These you can buy at, believe it or not, ostrich.com. And I know it's funny, but they're 20 bucks. Rinse that. And they're great for cocktail parties. Hors d'oeuvres. We serve eggnog in them during the holidays. We use them for decoration. You can cut them the other way, make creme brulee. And, don't forget about that lobster steak in the oven. Okay, so we got some more butter. We're not going to use even a pound of butter. Don't get nervous. Shallot chip. I'll keep that. Thank you. I got shallots here. Shoestring potatoes. I'm going to move quick because our garnish for what do you usually serve with a steak? Potatoes, correct? So bless you. So we're going to put some shoestrings in with our lobster steak. I lost my knife. See that? Here's another lobster from a 1.5 pound. We're going to keep it kind of large. Any tomato? Sylvan's whacking up the beef here. If you look at, this is the bad side of the ribeye with all the fat here, we'll trim. But look at the marble in there. You know what the marble is? It's almost like Kobe beef if you look how good that is. This goes back to a plan I had 5 years ago. I bought a bull out in Kentucky. It sounds bizarre, but we bought like a thoroughbred bull for $250,000. That ensured that we got the finest pick of his beef. It's a company called Creekstone Farms. That was not very well known back then, but now it's probably the premier beef company. And they treat their animals well. There was a woman named, forget her name. She designed the slaughterhouse. Very well known. They did a movie about her. I should know her name. Temple Grandin. And the animal husbandry, whole humane thing, and we hit a grand slam with it because we ensured that we were able to get the pick of the litter. Oh, there goes my note. That was my goodbye speech. Anyway, I got tomatoes, lobster, and shallots. Very simple. And this, good, smells good. Now the salt and pepper. Now this dish is a dinner dish. It's not only a brunch dish. This is a $25 appetizer. And Sylvan moved from Townhouse to Fishtail, which is 1 block away. So, and so he wants, and I believe my Townhouse did a lot of good fish dishes. So, and the reason the peppercorns are hot right now is so that when we serve dishes, the aroma gets to you first. So you start tasting before you're using your other senses besides just taste. Your eyes you always use, obviously. So here's our scramble with lobster. It's nice and soft. Stanley wants this, I can tell. This is European style scrambled eggs. Got some lobster in it. Grab the creme fraiche from the tartare. This is whipped creme fraiche, cultured cream. For those that know, you can use sour cream. It doesn't whip quite as well. And a hot spoon. Dumplings are almost ready. So it's caviar. A little quenelle, creme fraiche, chives, caviar on the way. We're gonna. Ooh, you're gonna get that one. Anyway, any questions? Ostrich eggs, where they come from, ostrich meat, anything? All right, we'll keep moving. Watch that.
Yep.
I get this. Okay, there's dish number 1. Stanley? Yep. I see somebody looking around for a fire extinguisher. Don't worry. Yeah.
With the lobster steak, was that raw shrimp that you used in the base?
Yes. 50-50. 50-50, but as a beginner, I would go a little more raw shrimp. You see what we have here? It's nice and tight too. The butter's not going to leak out if you emulsify it correctly. Pureed shrimp, warm. Not, I know this is breaking all the rules, but room temp and buttercream. Make sure that's like a buttercream where you almost pour in the whole butter and not melted butter. That's what you want to do. And you can go 2 parts shrimp, 1 part butter. It'll give you a tighter texture, obviously. You know what I'm saying? But we're going to cook this for another 5 minutes. And dumplings up.
Dumplings out.
To pick them up. It's a great snack. You've got an appetizer that's really made from a secondary. So we have a lobster steak as a main. We have that as an app. Sylvan is cooking shoestring potatoes, but what he's cooking them in is curry oil. You see that? See the color? So even our deep fryers, we flavor the oil for our French fries so that we have a different color and a different flavor. Curry, not that it's spicy, but it's very fragrant and beautiful when it's on the plate. Yes.
Without using so much detail as to give away your own trade secrets here, I'm curious what's so unique about your dry aging process that makes it patentable? So I would think that's a kind of a process that you couldn't get a patent.
Yeah, it's hard to get a patent on a. It's the technique of having XYZ amount of salt per XYZ amount of beef, and the rotation process of dry aging the beef. Believe it or not, dry aging has been done for years. but it rots. The meat rots usually after 30 days. So I have meat in Chicago that's been there for 5.5 years that is just petrified, but not rotten. So actually, we're going to start to work on aging meat to become jerky, so that the outside crust, it becomes usable. So there's less loss. But we got a patent. We're going to break that out in about 3 months with Pat LaFreitas, a beef company in Jersey. They built a David Burke dry aging room, and we're going to start retailing this beef across the country. But really high-end, expensive. And when you taste it, you'll understand. But it's a good question. Hard. I had to compete with myself for the patent, because I developed the room in Chicago. A year went by that I was using it, and it was in publication or commerce. So when I built Foxwoods, I applied for the trademark, and they wouldn't listen to the fact that I was competing with myself. And we finally got through to them. All right, lobster steak. So back to the curry oil. In the 80s, I was at the River Cafe as a chef, and we started experimenting with a lot of flavored oils, mainly for plating, not for deep frying. Ginger oil, wasabi oil, curry oil. John George, myself, Thomas Scott, all got a big article in the New York Times about what they called the new wave of flavors and techniques and flavored oils. And back then, everybody, and you will figure out as you go on to continue your career, you're going to cross paths and work for different people, and the communication now is even better with the online presence and social media, and the fact that you can go online and get recipes that are like that, and pretty good ones and pretty good presentations. So they smell great. They're a little dark. I'm not going to yell at Sylvan. So we're going to look a little fennel here, just softly browned. And then we got to get this out. We need a little paring knife. Oh, no, I got it. Thank you. Oh. I lost the claw. Well, you see, this took very little time. Normally, we make this a day ahead, and it sits in a cooler. We wrap it in leeks, cooked, or a foil band. And I'll take a little of this. Cumin citrus. It's a little tomato chutney. And we do a little cilantro. And there's another filet mignon lobster. You guys can, this is all tasteable food if you want to taste it afterwards. Yep. Next is tartare, angry, yeah. Now the next dish is called angry lobster. And it's one of our trademark dishes. Question? Let's talk about bread first. We're going to make bread. Jessica, you're going to help me. Please. This is seaweed biscuits. You got a recipe for that. It can be served with the angry lobster. It can be served with the scrambled eggs. It's just bread, but it's got seaweed in it, which is interesting. So we made some last night. You can see we baked it on a piece of nori. Good toast. That's for later, for another dish. And we've got some stuff that fermented. It's got seaweed in it. You do have a recipe, but we found some other seaweed today. This is called rock seaweed. And this is what you get your lobsters in. And we're going to make a little like soap on a rope here. We're going to bake our biscuits. I want you to work on that right here. Okay. You're going to take it like this. You can cut these in half and just wrap it right on there. I don't even think you need to egg wash it. Just pinch it and then egg wash the end. Let's make a little, like almost croutons. We're going to serve this with something else, okay? And then lay them on the sheet. Egg wash those 6 and egg wash these when you get done. So let's move this over. Follow what we're doing? That's just another, it's a good garnish for soup. You can dip it in. The seaweed will dry out and get brittle, but it still adds flavor. This type of seaweed, if you want to go online, look, we have a seaweed chicken on our menu. We brine with seaweed. We don't use salt. We use seaweed, sugar, seaweed again. There's more umami, and it's one of those recipes every cook that works with takes, the seaweed chicken, because the brine is so magnificent. When you brine meat, you know what brining is? You're soaking you can dry brine, or when you brine, what's happening is the cells of the protein, like a chicken breast, open up, blood goes out, almost like koshering, and whatever you're brining in goes into those cells. When heat is applied, those cells close and lock in whatever that brine has. So you're putting in sugar and seaweed and bay leaves and spices, so you actually have an opportunity to inject flavor. Next dish.
Angry lobster.
Angry lobster. Okay, this is called angry flour. Obviously, it's not angry, but that's what we call it in the kitchen, so people know what it's for. We make angry onion rings, so we're an angry kitchen. So it's got cayenne pepper in it and chili powder for the most part. This is a lobster oil that was made out of those shells. After we boiled those shells to make the lobster for those 3 dishes, we cooked it again, made lobster oil. Just cooked it in oil with a little bit of tomato juice evaporated. We also made, a 3rd time, we made the lobster cream. Again, we went in with heavy cream and just cooked it again, and this heavy cream's for another dish. Biscuits ready, there's egg wash here. And don't forget the sesame seeds and the rice pearls. Angry lobster. When we opened David Burke and Donatello, which is now David Burke Townhouse, Angry Lobster was voted best dish in New York Magazine, amongst other things. And it's just a unique way. I mean, angry, you're going to see why it's angry. We're going to cut them up, dust them in angry flour, put them in a fry pan, and then impale on a bed of nails so it gets the royal treatment. So the arms come off. And we normally cut this on electric saw because it's easier for us and more precise. So you're going to cut it here. Hot pan?
Yep. Needs lobster oil.
Yeah. And then we want to try and cut these claws right down the middle. Again, it's a little easier with a saw. We do a lot of butchery in our restaurants. Put it right in the oven, yep. Okay. So all the meat's going to go into the flour. You have steak?
They have the steak. Give it up.
Oh, good.
Is it good?
That was quick. Is that the beef or the crab? Oh, the beef. Okay, lobster oil gets heated. This is a very Asian way of cooking lobster, right? Live, right into a pan or a wok. It's not a Rhode Island lobster, don't worry. It's a Jersey lobster. All right, so we're browning that up. Now that meat, again, it's not being boiled away. We're not losing flavor. The flavor is locked in. And the pan sauce, we're going to make a pan sauce. Let's get a bed of nails.
Lemon juice.
Thank you. Now try, when you make 50 of these a night, you need a real good line guy. Many people have quit over this. This and the French fried dish we're going to show you in a little while. That's this, when you show up late, station. Yeah.
I actually work at Foxwoods, and I have never been to your restaurant per se, but what can we expect at Foxwoods restaurant versus the one in New York?
I couldn't understand the question. Let me move a little.
Versus the restaurants in New York to the one here over in Connecticut.
Yeah.
What are the main differences between the restaurants?
Well, in New York, we don't have a steakhouse. In New York, we have David Burke Townhouse is very high end. The average person pays about $120 for a meal. Fishtail is seafood high end, probably $85 that. Sushi, sashimi, very elegant, as pretty as the other place, but a little less. That we don't do petit fours and we don't do the whole 9 yards. And in Soho, we have David Burke Kitchen, which more farm to table is probably $75 that. A little more carving meats in the dining room and chicken liver paste and stuff on shareable items like that. In New Jersey, in Rumson, which is Monmouth County, we have fromagerie, which is a little fancy, especially for a suburban restaurant, and we're moving that more into what the kitchen is, a little more farm to table. In Chicago, we have one of the finest steakhouses in the city, and Foxwoods is a steakhouse. We're looking for a steakhouse now in Manhattan, but we're also looking for another fishtail location and a couple other opportunities. But and we have a place in Bloomingdale's which is fast casual called Burke in a Box. That's takeout, more like a cafeteria style with a little cafe. And we have one of those in the Vegas airport. So that's but I think I like them all the same, and I think Foxwoods is our busiest restaurant next and Chicago. And Kitchen downtown will become as busy after we're not quite a year old, but once we start really grooving, the garden opens again in the summer. So, okay, there, I lost my lobster. Thank you. It's in the oven. That's good. All right, Angry Lobster.
Then we're going to crack it.
So, the lobster's cooked. Sylvan's going to show you how to plate it because my fingers are not like his anymore. So we put it on a bed of nails. It's so much, and that's called a frog, that nails. That's what a florist uses to put tulips and hold them up in a vase. They put that in the bottom of a vase. So if you're looking for one, you got to go to a floral supply. They make them in all sizes. The idea here is this is a nice shareable dish. You pick off a piece, you get a cocktail fork, and you go. With lemons here. Don't forget these. There you go. And we sell these at Fishtail, but that's our most popular dish at David Burke Townhouse, which you can see takes a lot of time. You get, if you're any line guys out there, if we get 10 of these, you know, you're doing the backstroke. So now the sauce is made with a little more lobster oil, garlic, lemon, shallots, and red pepper flakes, a little bit. These are really hot. And we throw in some basil leaves. And all that basil. You get some more? A lot of parsley. and that's browning up, and then a little bit of butter. Lemon juice. That's it. And you got some whiskers somewhere, right? And these are the whiskers. And that's angry lobster. And that would be like for 2 people to share. And again, that angry lobster, I mean, if you had, I was going to add some ginger. If you want to take it another direction, you add soy sauce, sesame oil, some ginger, you have something more Asian in flavor. Maybe a little like hoisin or something like that, or teriyaki style. It's just technique. The technique for all of these dishes is all different. And we pride ourselves on doing different technique that makes sense from a business standpoint as well as a culinary standpoint. And most of these dishes do. What are we handing me now?
Crab cake.
Crab cake. Did you guys eat crab cake yet? No? Crab cake you're going to taste.
It's coming out. You gotta demonstrate it first.
Chef, I have a quick question for you. Steve Shipman from Johnson Wales first.
Nice to see you, Steve.
15 years, incredibly talented person. You're involved with the Research Chefs Association, some of the things you've created there, and our culinary magazine. Always look forward to what you came up with, all the wild, crazy ideas that everybody else copied. There's probably a number of students in here calling nutrition with the RCA.
Okay.
And how important is the whole creative sense that you're involved with that group?
Well, the RCA is a great organization. I don't have as much time to be involved anymore, but I think to learn from some of those guys that have been working in manufacturing. From a nutrition standpoint, I think that's going to be the next level of cleverness too, and how you can put some on a plate that is still nourishing and makes people feel full, and how it's a little bit healthier for you. I mean, I did a flavor spray a few years ago, and that'll come back on the market, and we did that with the help of RCA. It was a fat-free, cow-free, carb-free, diabetic-friendly flavored water really in a bottle. It was bacon and butter, blue cheese, and it really helped a lot of people get that flavor without getting the fat. And it was what we were gearing it towards was Cheerios, and so kids could put chocolate spray in their milk and cheddar cheese on their broccoli and having fun with this kind of food. And it's a little bit high in sodium, but it gets rid of all the other stuff, and it makes food a little more fun. So that'll be back in about a year. That's called flavor sprays. But there's a lot of stuff that if we start focusing on nutrition a little more, especially with some of the real creative guys out there, you'll find that it's easy to get to. So any of you guys looking for nutrition, it's always a good thing. I mean, some of us, at least me, we use a little. All right, next dish. Anybody, what are we eating now? Beef still?
Yeah, we had to fire some more, Chef.
Oh, really? Anyway, the steak sauce on the beef is our own blend of steak sauce. We manufacture some of our own products, smoked salmon, beef, steak sauce, other sauces, and things like that. So if you're in Bed Bath & Beyond in the next 6 months, you'll see our sauces.
You're gonna fry and pure fry?
Saute. Okay, we'll fry. Use that one. Okay. All right, crab cake is, again, the crab cake is going to taste a little different than what we're making you, but the crab cake, this is the only dish that's on all of our menus, except for a short rib dish and a cheesecake lollipop dish. So, and it's hard because people like this, and it's hard to make. You just can't we can't get a popular dish that's easy to make. So all of our popular dishes take a lot of labor. So these are pretzels, and this is interesting because pretzels come from Japan, just like panko breadcrumbs. Everybody knows where panko comes from? You know what panko is? Panko breadcrumb. It's a Japanese breadcrumb. But you would appreciate this. I don't know where I never get rolls in a Japanese restaurant, so I don't know where the breadcrumbs are coming from. But they're selling us breadcrumbs, which are fantastic because the idea behind them was to make a steamed bread with a bigger crumb to make tempura easier. So that we could put it in a tempura batter and it would still stay crunchy and give you that burst. So anyway, we got pretzels from these. How many? 8? 8 pretzels. And we made, again, back to the technique of what we did with the shrimp paste. This is a crab cake filling. Crab cake fillings are usually made with bechamel, breadcrumbs, scallop puree sometimes. This is made with mayonnaise and butter, equal amounts, same temperature. So it's another buttercream. We use this a lot because the butter, mayonnaise is mayonnaise. But the butter has a better flavor. So we emulsify mayo and butter at the same temp. That's what binds this crab cake. And this is crab, and the butter doesn't melt, but it gives you, when it hits your palate warm, it coats the palate. And so like a lubrication, mayonnaise warm is very good too, as long as it doesn't taste like mayonnaise. Nobody wants warm mayonnaise if they know it's mayonnaise. So there's crab meat here, and it's got, your usual suspects, peppers and onions and the Old Bay. And that's our filling. And so what we're doing here is really kind of making what would resemble a raft. It's a little cold. See what we're doing now. Sylvan, you're going to finish this over there. So I got to move stuff and move on to. And these pretzels are delicious. Did you guys bring mustard oil with you by any chance? We got mustard oil in the bag? Didn't bring it? Never mind. So what we've got here is kind of like a raft. It's going to be a little big. Sylvan will tie it up. And that's our crab cake. We're going to fry it and plate it for you. The two sauces we make with it, one is a sweet and sour sauce we call it cumin citrus sauce. I don't know why that name stuck, because it's really not that much cumin in it, but it's a orange marmalade and vinegar. It's a sweet and sour sauce. It's got green peppercorns and sour anise and a variety of different unique flavors. And this is what it looks like when you're reducing it. Like that, and then we take it all the way down, strain it, and then we add poppy seeds, and it's a syrup. So, and it's really good for like the dumplings. It's one of those all-purpose sauces. It's a glaze, pork chops. It could be a salad dressing if you add more lemon, and on and on and on. And that's one of the sauces. The other is a marmalade made with tomatoes and orange juice, and you'll get that on top of your crab cake when you taste it. It's canned tomatoes, orange juice, orange zest. Really cooked down with honey. Chutney, marmalade, either one. And this is. And our bread, how was the bread doing? Jessica? Did you put egg white? The biscuits are coming. You see what the biscuits on the rope look like? So these will be ready in about 3 minutes. Again, you can. Good work. So Sylvan's finished crab cake. Oh, Benny, okay. Any questions? Want to take a break? Yes?
Do you change your menus to be more seasonal?
Yep. Seasonal menus. Steakhouses, we don't do as much because the focus is beef, but we run specials all the time. And we change our menus seasonally, and we have done for a long time. We have my partner owns a fishing boat, so he brings fish in. We're near the market. We actually go to the produce market ourselves as of last week. We bought a truck. So we go to Hunts Point and buy all our own produce now for all our restaurants. Saves us a lot of money. And we also take, after every month, we take the least selling appetizer, least selling main course, and least selling dessert off the menu anyway. Almost no matter what. And that because it's just not moving. And we come up with, it's almost forced creativity. What's going to be next? Because if it's not moving, whether we like it or not, the client doesn't. So we change that way also. Savory sweets, I like them. I really like vanilla ice cream and apple tart, but I like savory sweets. And one of our, as long as the menu doesn't have 4 items with it. Basil ice cream's wonderful. Chili in chocolate I like. We have one of our signature dessert is a butterscotch panna cotta with curry jelly. I like curry in desserts too because it's not necessarily, it's kind of a sweet spice like cinnamon. But black olive ice cream, okay, I like that too. I'm not that crazy about the whole bombardment. I like bits and pieces of it. Nouvelle Cuisine, which Stanley would remember, I remember, and some other chefs in the room. Nouvelle Cuisine in the 70s, it was lighter sauces, tiny portions, cooking less. And about 20% of what was good in Nouvelle, about 20% of that or 15 stayed with what we do today. And the same will be with molecular gastronomy. It'll go away and 10% will stay or 15% will stay. And savory sweets will be the same thing. It's just another level, another idea. And I think people that like it. I'm an old-fashioned guy when it comes to dessert sometimes. You know, I had a pastry chef who wanted to put milk ice cream on the menu, and I was like, that's great, but you know, all ice cream is milk ice cream. You know, I was like, you know, but where's the luxury? The luxury was the chocolate and the vanilla and the gold leaf and you know, the luxury of spices. I mean, if you think about ice cream, the first ice cream was probably milk ice cream. We're in a recession, but we're not at the milk ice cream stage yet. You know, but I understand her thinking was simple, farm to table, great. But I think what people, in order for me to charge $12 for an apple tart, I need vanilla ice cream or Jean Duja or whatever it is. Any other question? How's the beef? Do you taste what we're talking about with the flavor of dry aged? Yes. I got a little louder, please. The next phase? The next phase, well, we're in it. It's going to be good and simple, the next phase. But I still think people want wow factor, but the wow factor can't be on every plate. The menu's got to be a little bit more diverse now. You know, you need simple blended with wow, and you need nutritional dishes blended with, you know, like foie gras. You don't see foie gras menus in New York City anymore. It's just not, you know, here and there, but not like it was in the 80s. The luxury stuff it's delicious. It just lost popularity. Smoked salmon, you don't see a lot of plates anymore either, although that's good for you. So that might, you know, come back. But some of this stuff is, I think, good. Pig is in style, big time. The nose to tail and charcuterie, which I thought would never come back, is hot. You know, pâtés are back, and they're not necessarily good for you, but they're good for business, and people seem to be cheering for the small business guy and all that, which is great. Well, he made a crab cake without me looking. Okay, so you've got a. This is how we serve our crab cake. You know, we decorate a little more. We're on the road, and when you're on the road, you don't get to play every song. So this is missing a couple pieces. This is a crab cake raft. The little rice pearls resemble barnacles, and this is orange tomato marmalade, and then the cumin citrus juice. And this dish was created, believe it or not, sitting at a bar eating pretzel sticks. So I got to admit it, but it was during the day. So, and that's just a unique crab cake too. The idea behind pretzels is that because they're coated, they don't absorb as much fat as a breadcrumb. So you've already got a coating on it. So when you fry it, it's not so it is actually a healthier crab cake in the sense that it doesn't absorb. And the rice pearls don't absorb any fat because they're completely coated and they're not porous at all. So if you want to use these rice pearls, and we'll give you the information on them, you can bread a chicken breast in this, flour, egg, and pearls, have a real crunchy piece of meat or tempura or something that's even fried shrimp, and won't absorb the fat. The key behind breading, I mean, years ago, and this is something that Stanley would know, and not because he's old, but classically, breaded food was peasant food. So you saved your bread and you fried it in chicken fat and bacon fat, and you had a thin cutlet like a Wiener Schnitzel, and basically the bread was the filler, and the fat that you cooked it in was the filler. So you want a dry bread because the drier the bread, like drier the sponge, the more it absorbs, or a mop. So the wetter the bread, or the dry, the non-porous is the way to bread. Okay.
Benny?
You got a crab cake. You got a crab cake coming out now. This is done with a Ritz cracker instead of the pretzels because the pretzels it's just too hard for us to make that in quantity and to cut it and all that stuff. So we're going to move on to another dish, and you're going to help me.
Yep.
So this is called Sea Scallop Benedict, and it's been on our menu for about 10 years. And it's Sea Scallops Benedict. That's what it is, just like it sounds.
Start with the phone so it gets hot.
Yep. Again, one of the things we did with the lobster shells is we made a lobster stock. In here, in the pot. Yes. Biscuits are done. Pull them out there. Nice.
Meal butter and chorizo.
What?
Meal butter and chorizo.
But you take care of the foam. Okay, Jessica, good work. Biscuits are done, and this is how we cooked them. We cooked them on nori. So actually, you could serve this. If I went to a restaurant and got this served out of the oven on the seaweed, I'd be pretty pleased. You know, you pull them off like this. Really good. All right. So they have seaweed in them. They got the rice pearls on them, and that's a nice presentation. We're going to make toast for tuna tartare with that in a little while. If you take this one here, I'm going to snip it. You want to take that and put that near the scrambled eggs in front. That's a good garnish for eggs and biscuits. And again, that wouldn't be a bad way to serve some bread anyway. We'll put that in front as a compliment to cocktails. There could be cheese in there. So at the bar, you'd have a bunch of these and snip them off with a scissor. See, I see someone laughing in the back. The soap on a rope is an old thing. That's the idea behind that anyway. All right, Sea Scout Benedict, my favorite appetizer on the menu at David Burke Townhouse. Besides those two, and those three. Actually, this is it's smaller, it's lighter, easy to eat. Potato pancakes.
We're gonna put them here.
We're gonna cook them here. Well, these are just baked potatoes, peeled, grated, and compressed with chives, salt, and pepper. And we're usually sauteing them. We're just frying them now to save a little bit of elbow room here. You're gonna saute here, scallops,
Yeah.
butter, oil, quail eggs. We all seen quail eggs before. Quail eggs are just baby. They're quail eggs. They're small eggs. Same nutritional value. I'm pretty sure. We got, compared to an ostrich egg, you know, I think the ostrich is the biggest egg out there. So we got a little oil in the pan, chorizo, a little chorizo oil. Again, flavored oil. We take all the butts of the chorizo and the skins and the pieces we don't use, we boil it in oil. And you come up with, you got it?
Putting it.
Now this oil is just chorizo. There's nothing else in it. It's really, I mean, you should pass this because this is worth it. You want to put an underline of plate so it doesn't spill. Let them pass that around. Here. Go get a plate in the back. Maybe a little bowl so it's in a bowl so you don't get dirty. But that's one of my favorite. Now you can make hollandaise with that. You can use that as a vinaigrette. You can pour that over charcuterie. You can base a piece of simple halibut with that. Good stuff. Yeah. You know, it depends. Depends on what we're going to, the final is. We don't use olive oil. We use cheap oil. Sour oil, peanut oil. Unless it's never use extra virgin because it's too powerful for what we're trying to introduce. So we use a sour oil or peanut oil. And yesterday we used both because that's what we had. So don't go buy expensive oil and to make flavored oil. You want to make sure it's it should be something that can drizzle. And something that'll take on some flavor. The scallops are sauteing. And Sylvan's got a couple of potato pancakes there. Chorizo, brown up. We're running out of plates. We're going to need a couple more plates. And we made there's a little olive paste we made yesterday. Just a little tapenade. Relics. Chorizo is a hot item now. Spanish food is taken off in the last few years. Charcuterie. Tapas. What? I like Spanish better than Mexican just for texture reasons. They both taste good. I think the Mexican's crumblier. Does that make sense? Yeah. I think the Spanish one's dried longer. For what I'm using, I like it to hold together because I'm using it as a replacement for Canadian bacon. So I need that texture. But if you're going to make the oil, the Mexican one's better because you want to crumble it anyway and boil it in the oil. How's the pancakes? And again, this dish is an app. You know, in some of our restaurants, we'll do a larger potato pancake, piece of swordfish, and a chicken egg. Again, with prosciutto, and do it like a play on a Benedict. So you see the pancakes here? Now you see how yellow they are? It's because we use the curry oil again. It just gives you, you know, another flavor, another look, another. And then we've got chorizo. Savannah's making lobster foam. So he's got lobster stock and milk, a little soy lecithin in there to help hold it, and that's our hollandaise for this particular dish. Scallops, no need to cook them that much. Quail cooking. That chorizo oil making its way around. And before it goes over there, can you bring it up here? Because I need it for this. The tip for you cooks: eat your food when you cook it. One of the biggest problems with chefs, cooks, is also you need to sit in your restaurant and eat it. Different tables. It's like sleeping in a guest room. You never know what people are experiencing. I know chefs and owners, they sit in the same table every night. You got to sit in different spots. You might see something hanging from the ceiling, a hole in the, you know. Chorizo oil. And again, this is, sometimes we use chives a lot, but parsley stems also. We use parsley stems a lot. I mean, instead of throwing them in stock, we use the tender ones as vegetable. And also spinach stems. Spinach stems we charge $7.50 for because we call it spinach root. You know, so that's, we got to make, it's really delicious actually. You know, so we make cream spinach with all its leaves. We cook the stems really good, and we stir fry them with ginger oil, and you know, it's really good. And this is foam. This is not the foam out of the gun, but it's a foam that's made to order, and it's got another way of transporting flavor to this dish. And it came from those shells that we've pulled so much flavor out. You know, this is the Sea Scout Benedict. Tartare?
Yep.
Next, we're going to make a raw fish dish, tartare of tuna and salmon, and a little sashimi. Again, back to flavored oils. This is an oil with horseradish, shallots, lemon, and ginger in it, and I sauteed everything together and let it sit overnight. Biscuits are good, aren't they? Try them. Okay. Tuna salmon tartare, I mean, it's very popular now. 20 years ago, it was hard to, it was all steak tartare, or maybe 30, 40 years ago, steak tartare. And what they did is they took all these strong things like mustard, capers. What else they put in it? Onions. And they cornichons, and you couldn't taste beef. That was probably the reason, because refrigeration wasn't as good, and I don't know why, but you didn't taste any beef. When you deal with fish tartare, you don't want to kill it either. So we don't have mustard oil today. So we got tuna and salmon that I diced. And again, the flavor oils came into play because when I made tuna tartare, I didn't want to have pieces of horseradish inside, but I wanted the flavor. And I wanted mustard flavor, but I didn't want to lose the color. So I put mustard oil in. Mustard oil we can't make as good as you can buy it. Is that it? No, it's water. Mustard oil, if you can find, is really worth it. It's a Middle Eastern or Indian spice, almost like wasabi oil. Really, really, really good. Really good to have on hand. It's one of our staple items. So these two tars, normally I make a little different, but I'll make them today. I usually put a little more cilantro and such and lime in tuna. We got salmon and tuna here. So we're gonna put some of the oil and some of the onion in it. It's not necessarily warm. This is room temp, so but you got all that flavor and the oil from it. And then some cornichon capers. I'm sorry. Give these a quick chop. Capers are misused. They're underused. Don't you think? They don't get used as much anymore. You don't see them on the new menus. And anchovies. Green peppercorns. You don't see that stuff as much anymore. A little soy. Now white soy is even better because if you want to keep a nice looking color in your fish. You got a mold here. So that's pretty easy to make. And again, this is a great restaurant dish because the more you can do ahead of time in the day, the easier your service is. Pepper. Just chives, lemon. No butter in this one. Only the biscuit. And again, this is a tartare is it's like you're making chicken salad at your house. Whatever you like, you put in it. It doesn't have to, there's no rule for it really. Just we try to stay within the ethnic backgrounds of what it is. If it's a French tartare, we stay with capers and mustard. But if it's Mexican, we might put avocado and cilantro and jalapeno. So you can go any way. And then we mold it. I'm sure you're familiar with ring molds. Oh, there you go. Oh, that's right. We were shipping them. So Boy Rob was okay, I know. Listen, I hope you like the steak, but the bread that steak was on was probably just as good because we ate that baguette, the baker on the other side. That was the best baguette I ever ate. We almost ate a half a baguette in my room. Really good stuff. What's this pastry guy's name over there? Krista? Hits? Yeah, it's good. So we got some salmon, tuna. I use a little salmon on top. Again, this, like I said, we'll make 25, 30 of these in the afternoon. And you got creme fraiche? I got it here. Again, the whipped cream fresh. Stanley whipped yesterday. A little soft.
Select the bread.
Yep. So this is, and some of the molding, I gotta tell you, when I went to France a couple times, one was to study pastry. When I came back, I was molding a lot of stuff. Like pastry chefs, precision. And it really, it works out well. Here we go. You almost missed that one. So we're gonna plate this one on the salt. I got room. So the salt, now you got a tuna tartare here. Again, we make this ahead. It tightens up a little bit, it marinates a little longer. When you get an order in the kitchen, you slip it off. And you make the toast. Yep. Again, this goes on the salt. Here's some sashimi also. You got those pears?
Yep.
And some chives. And this, what is this? This is a raw piece of what? Yellowtail?
Belongs to Johnson and Wales.
This is a Johnson & Wales hamachi. Nathan, we're using Nathan's pickled pears. Thank you. We stole that from him this morning. So the hamachi, and when we serve tartare on a salt like this, it's important that it goes right out of the kitchen because it gets too salty. The longer it sits on the brick, the saltier it gets. And when someone goes to smoke a cigarette or make a phone call, that's why sometimes we put a little layer of herbs underneath, so it's really not completely in direct contact, because you'll see it'll pick up a lot of flavor. You got the pears?
Right there.
Oh,
There's the greens.
a little pickled pear, Asian pear. There you go. And this is the seaweed toast with the rice crackers. Stanley, thank you. Normally that tartare. That tartare would be, really perfectly set, but I make it to order. You let it set up a little bit. Again, beef tartare. We have a bison tartare on the menu with egg salad, and it's really a good dish because it's like the dumplings. That dish, the tartare, believe it or not, is coming from byproducts of my main course fish on the menu. So when I write a menu, if I'm gonna have swordfish, I know I have swordfish trim, I need a swordfish app. And you can't do it on every dish, but you need to think that way. You need to find a way to put the small cubes of swordfish on your lunch menu. And that's really the key to writing a menu, because food costs right now is one of the hardest. Food and labor are gonna be the make or break in most restaurants. I mean, you need a good rent too, but those are the things that a guy that you work for or girl that you work for is going to be looking for. So, and it's fun to use stuff that other people throw away, because that's where we can all put truffles and foie gras on stuff, but it's taking the stems and the claws and the little stuff that's around you and using the environment around you to cook dishes. The chef that's out in Copenhagen, Nomi, who's been awarded best new restaurant in the world, is doing such things like that. He's using the environment around him to cook with, and really forcing himself to think outside the box and be creative, without necessarily taking what he has from nature and making it a luxury item. And that's inspiring for me too. We only got 7 more dishes. No, we're on the home stretch. This is what we call it. This is inspired by this guy right here, 2 years old. Asked me why I can't make French fries that look like McDonald's. So I lived across the street from the River Cafe. We walked over and made, this is called a French fry Charlotte. And my son Dylan's responsible for many people that have quit because they had to make these over the years. So what it is, it's a blanched French fry that we put in a ring that has been oiled, and we're going to deep fry the whole thing. So the presentation of this, I can't say it's better than just a plain pile of fries, which I like as well, but at the fine dining level and the wow factor of seeing something on a plate, Normally our ribeyes are on the bone, and you can see it's coming from a different style of meat, but we're just showing you a way to garnish beef. And again, when you talk about the flavor senses and the fifth flavor being umami, and I'm sure you've all heard about it, it's coming from Parmesan and fish sauces and tomatoes, dry-aged beef. And Parmesan, another good example of that is in Caesar salad, anchovies, Parmesan cheese. So we're serving that with dry-aged beef in some of our steakhouses. A small Caesar salad with a steak is really a great combination. Anybody working in New York? No? Oh, you're still in school? Yes? Where? I can't hear you. La Esquina? Oh, yeah, good, good.
I work at a restaurant in the Fulton Market area called Calvaro Seahorse. I work there with my summer right after restaurant.
What's it called?
Calvaro Seahorse.
Okay, is it by the seaport?
Yes, they
Okay.
also have a restaurant in the village called Calvaro.
Okay, yeah, I heard of it, I heard of it. Good, good. New York's exciting. Boston, anybody working in Boston?
I work at Bistro de Midi, restaurant in Boston.
Who owns it?
I actually go to
Boston's got a lot of good places, right?
I work under my uncle.
Okay, good. Paparazzis in Boston? We'd like to open a restaurant there. I think they're building a whole thing called near the Big Dig. They're putting up a whole new city there, I think. You know, or they're building some maybe something like down by World Trade Center, like 10 high rises. So.
How about Barbara Lynch, everybody? Barbara Lynch is like the Barbara Lynch restaurant.
I have.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a good chef. Kenny Oranger worked for me in 19. I'll give you a quick brief of where I was while waiting for this. I got out of CIA in '82, went to Norway for 4 months, worked in a private mansion. Then I traveled throughout Europe with no money, looking in the windows of great restaurants and reading the menus. And I got back home. I worked for a chef who's named Walde Malouf, who owns a restaurant in Beacon, New York. But we worked in, above Greenwich, Connecticut, in a very old French restaurant called La Crémaillère, still around. I was myself and the chef, the only English-speaking cooks at the time. Everybody was French. So it was a great learning experience. I learned how to speak kitchen French. Then I moved down and worked for Daniel Boulud in New York for a few months. Then I went to the River Cafe, worked for Charlie Palmer from Oriole. And then I went to France to learn pastry. Came back, I became the chef at the River Cafe. Oh, and then I stayed there till I stayed there till 92. And I opened Park Avenue Cafe, which is still open on Park Avenue and 63rd, with the founder of TGI Fridays and the founder of Smith & Olensky, who taught me a lot about business, and we opened about 10 steakhouses together. That's kind of how I got into the steakhouse game. I left that company, opened my own company in '04, which we now have 8 restaurants. So it's been, the last few years have been a lot of moving around from Vegas, Chicago, Foxwoods, Jersey Shore. I bought a restaurant I worked at as an extern in a town called Rumson, which is maybe a Wall Street commuter town sprinkled with a couple rock stars like Springsteen and Bon Jovi, and really high-end town. And it's a beautiful building. It's just not as busy as a city, of course. You know, when you go out to the suburbs, it's not people. There's no conventions. There's no tourism. There's, you know, so it gets harder the further you go away from the big cities, and that's it. We're looking to do some other stuff now. Yes.
Do you find it challenging to have, do you find it challenging to have a lot of restaurants like all over the country just because you can't be there and make sure it's the place you're going out to your
Yeah.
standards? How do you deal with you just travel?
You know, we closed one in Vegas. We had a partner out there who went bankrupt in the Venetian. And I went out 3 years every month, 3.5 years, and I don't miss it. So our focus is mainly East Coast now. And we had offers in Dubai and Singapore, and I worked with Singapore Airlines for years. And, you know, because my name's on the door, I don't want to fly to these places that much. To make a commitment to go to Dubai for every other month for 20 years is not that interesting to me. I mean, we could open something in Hoboken or Fort Lee, where I live in the Jersey side, and make the same money, and I don't have to do the wear and tear and be away from the city. In New York City, we would do another casino deal, maybe Boston, Philly, maybe Washington, D.C., and we're looking at something in Palm Beach on Monday. But the East Coast is much easier for us to get people to move up and down, meaning managers and chefs. And yeah, it's a problem to watch all your spots. And I look at some of the other, you know, the stuff that we have in the airport, which is a license deal. We hand you the book of recipes. HMS host runs it for us. We do our check-ins. Those are good deals for us. And I don't think people are rating your restaurant in the airport like they do on social media in the cities and compare, you know, so it's expected to be better than most. But I think for me, the travel game is I'm not that much into it because you really can't watch it. And you turn around. In one of the discussions in our board meetings is, if we just focus on what we have, we'd probably make more money than if we opened another restaurant, because we're not extracting what we could by expansion. So it's a good question. Yes?
Since you mentioned Park Avenue Cafe and
Yeah.
Smith & Walensky Restaurant Group, any relation between the Angry Lobster you did and Maloney and Porcelli's?
Yeah. I wrote the menu at Maloney and Porcelli. I opened Maloney and Porcelli. Maloney and Porcelli was created by me. And the pork shank is my dish that won Dish of the Year USA Today. Maloney Porcelli, Alan Stillman, the founder of Smith & Walensky, had two partners, and they wouldn't give him the name to go on the road and go public, which is what we did. So him and I opened Maloney Porcelli, named after our liquor attorneys, to compete with Smith & Walensky, but we had a much better menu. And at the last minute, they gave him the rights to the name. They still made a lot of money with the name anyway, but that's exactly it. So the Maloney Porcelli menu that exists today is still mainly my stuff.
That's good. I
Yep.
tell you, my office mate went to law school with Joe Porcelli. So
Okay.
right after it opened, we were there like within the first few months.
Joe Jr., Joe Sr.?
Joe, the attorney, Joe.
Yeah, that's Joe the liquor. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's named after him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we had to go.
They must have given a discount or something.
If only-
People love that story, named after the liquor attorneys. But it sounded like Smith & Walensky. It's a good steakhouse. It's a big steakhouse. It's a good location.
Back to the fish Himalayan salt
Yeah.
slab. Doesn't the slab itself absorb flavors and things as well as give the salt to the ingredients?
The only,
And then how do you
I mean, as a presentation piece, yeah, it'll absorb some. We just wash, but there's nothing that's gonna. The salt kills any bacteria anyway. So if the fish is on it, we wash it.
You wash?
We wash it off. We can put that thing in a dishwasher about 100 times before it'll get smaller and smaller. Or we just hot towel it off.
Yeah. Where do you get those things?
You can go to our website in about a month. There'll probably be a link, or you can just go to david@davidburke.com and we'll answer where to get it. There's a couple of companies we work with, one major one, but I don't know the name right now. They're really fun to have. I mean, you can bake on them, you know, yeah. We bring salt in containers with another company who's an importer, and we use quite a bit. We serve our butter on little blocks of salt. So if you, instead of using salted butter, you can actually scrape with your butter knife a little. And it's just a good conversation. We have the salt lamps on our tables, and a couple of our bars are built. I mean, the whole wall is made with salt lit from behind. Beautiful. I mean, and that salt was what formed the earth. That's the primordial ocean salt. So that is like the beginning of life, and you know, it's got a whole story. It's really interesting stuff. And our walk-ins, they'll last about 15 years in the refrigerator. I'm working on putting designing something that goes in to replace Arm & Hammer's baking soda for the fridge. So that, you know, because everybody has one, right? Everyone has, no one really asks why, but that box is way in the back under the light, melted, ripped, you know. get something with a little, family crest on it, and then you have to buy it once, So that's what we're thinking about that's a side job. Sylvan's having a tough time with my Charlotte. That's why I'm over here talking. So.
Years of experience is not enough. You want to live in there?
Yeah.
How much more expensive is that salt than a conventional salt slab?
I don't know what a conventional salt slab would be. That is the conventional salt slab, I think. That's a $10 piece. Not bad, actually. The bricks are $5 I buy them at $5, so you'd probably pay $15 in the store. If you went to Williams-Sonoma or one of those stores, I don't even know who sells it really. But we can get you salt cheaper than that. That would be, so when I tell you at Foxwoods, we've probably got $100,000 worth of salt on the walls. I mean, it's big. Not only that, but even to have it at the bar, it's a healthy bar because it's killing bacteria. So if the bartender has a cold, you're not going to catch it maybe. But the beauty of it is it lasts the only enemy is water. So you see in the refrigerators over time, the humidity in the fridge is eating away at it. So a wall becomes one piece of wall after 5 years because it gets fused together. Just not unlike probably like ancient ruins where you see the bricks are just becoming one piece. So.
Chef, do you think Hoboken would benefit from having like a more fine dining restaurant?
I'm hoping because I have a deal on the table.
I know, I'm from Hoboken, there's a lot of bars.
There's a lot of bars. I live in Fort Lee, right up the highway there. We're looking at something right on the water in Hoboken with beautiful views of Manhattan. Mainly a steakhouse / kitchen, not too expensive, with a guy who runs the restaurant, very well known one in Hoboken. I think so. And it's right near the W Hotel, so I think it's a good spot.
Yeah, I know Author's Steakhouse on
Yep.
Washington Street, it was just sold.
My bartender just bought it.
Yeah.
So I don't know how he made that much money behind my bar, but I got to figure that out.
You can almost not see the ring.
Well, we made a boo-boo on that one. Use your imagination. The French fries, normally the ring's off, obviously, and it's a beautiful setup. But again, sometimes when you're not doing things a day or two ahead, it gets we get behind. But if you can probably see something on our website with that, and it's just a beautiful garnish. Very difficult to make unless the same person's making it every day. There's a technique involved. One thing is, if you do make that, you need save one French fry for the next day because you got to peg it in because they shrink, and otherwise they fall apart. So tough to make, but the idea is to use your imagination. It doesn't have to be home fries or with potatoes and things like that. And
All right, Chef. Listen, before you get into that, I want any nut allergies. Okay, no lollipop. Okay, Chef.
all right. So you got beef, fries, salad. Did we cover everything else?
Yep.
This is another one of our signature dishes. It's called Cheesecake Pops. And a few years ago, I put these on the retail market and catalogs. We made them with smoked salmon, goat cheese, and foie gras, which we found out gourmet ingredients eaten by gourmet people doesn't really translate when it's frozen because the foie gras oxidized, the smoked salmon deteriorated. Goat cheese was okay, but to get a ball of goat cheese without toast is a little tough, So we went to the Cheesecake Pop, and these are cheesecake, molded, frozen, dipped in different coatings. This one is Heath Bar Crunch. This one does not have nuts, but it's in the same box as the one with nuts, so if you have a high nut allergy, be careful. This one is made with pistachios and cherries. And this is made with Reese's and chocolates. And this is how we present them. What we did is we started designing desserts. People don't eat desserts. When you went away from prefix menus, we started designing desserts that could be shared. But it's nothing like restaurant people, because I've cooked in 22 countries, and a career in food, whether it be in nutrition, cooking, whatever, can take you to a lot of different places. So, keep your ears and eyes open. I mean, I was explaining to my daughter, where I'd been in the world, and I was like, I cooked in 22 places. That's amazing. Either as a consultant, a teacher, a charity chef, or working for Free to Learn, and pretty good stuff. So, I think the pops are the pops, and I'm here to answer any questions, and we're here. We got more time, so thank you all for coming. And
What do you guys think?
was out in New York this past weekend, and I went to David Burke's Kitchen, David's restaurant. And actually, we have one of his sons sitting right here. I met his other son on Saturday night. But I had an amazing meal. And I just want to tell you, if you're going down to one of his restaurants, especially David Burke's Kitchen, you better make a reservation because it was busy. It was busy. It was a phenomenal meal, and he's doing an amazing job. David, I'd like you to step out front here for a second. Any other questions before we finish up here? Yes. Yeah.
What percentage of your food costs do you dedicate to things like these exotic presentations, salt block,
That's a good question for him. The plates we don't dedicate to food costs. The ostrich egg we don't either. Bread we do. We have a thank you box that we give everybody that costs us $100,000 a year as a group, so it's 80 cents a person. That's part of your food cost because we put cookies in there. Our food cost now is running at about 32% as a group. The steakhouse last year was very high, now it's down. We'll probably come in at 31 this year because now we're focused. We'll probably come in at 30 actually, right? Sylvan's marching orders are how much? Well, we know we're going to Huntsville. We have our own truck. We pay a guy $50,000 a year to drive the truck. We have another guy who buys the food. We'll save 40% on $1.8 million a year in produce alone. Now we're hitting crab meat and shrimp. Our bread, we just made a deal with a bread company. So everything's starting to add up so that we can control our costs. But food cost is really important. I know it sounds boring, but if somebody's going to fly fishing from Hawaii, that FedEx is food cost. You know, that's what it costs to get here. If a fuel charge is on the delivery for a produce company, that's a food cost item. That's what it costs to get that chive in the door. That's food cost. Plateware, like the salt, you know what, we were a little more flexible for that. And because they, like this stuff doesn't disappear. This is small wares.
having the exotic names, that sort of thing, of like an expensive piece of fish versus like a more local one, would that be worthwhile for us?
Does adding exotic fish like?
Well, just for like the name of like Chilean sea bass.
Well, I think Dover sole would be a good example. Dover sole, New York sells like crazy. We charge $55. But I also sell a lot of skate. So it's what the Upper East Side wants Dover sole, and down in Soho they want skate or monkfish. So we do a little bit of both. I hate to charge $60 for fish, but you know we buy a piece of Dover sole, costs us $25. We've got to, you know, we just. Pardon?
$30.
Costs $30. So I mean, you know, but certain clientele want that. But to buy a piece of hake or octopus, and octopus is expensive, but a piece of hake is good. There's fish out there that, and we're working with the Monterey Bay Aquarium on sustainability. There's fish out there that are good that nobody really, it's not mainstream. You got tuna, salmon, cod, and what's the other one? Bass. That's what everybody's selling. But you know, if you get skate and monkfish and rouget, red snapper's another popular one, but there's a lot of good stuff out there that's, you know, like bluefish nobody's gonna eat. It's just too strong. Arctic char is a good one, you know. Those are the types of things we try to rotate around. But again, you can't bring a fish in, it doesn't sell. We opened Fishtail as a sustainable restaurant. We got no PR on it. It was costing us a lot more money to buy that kind of fish. So we went to about 80%. And as much as the writers say people care, you know, it has to be the customer willing to pay. Always seems to be when we got to go sustainable and organic, the economy sucks. So nobody wants to pay. So it's one of these, you know, one of these things that's up and down, you know. But Whole Foods is doing it, and they're packed, at least in New York. You know.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to, first of all, I'd like to thank the chef.
Thank you.
Okay, for an amazing
Thank you.
presentation. I'd like to say a few words about Stanley. I've known Stanley for 30 years. Stanley started this program 165 distinguished visiting chefs ago, 1977. Stanley has missed two of these presentations since 1977. Just so you know, if any of you are interested in a work experience or just going to dine, Stanley owns a restaurant in Leicester, Mass, which is just outside of Worcester. He's had it for 65 years. He built it himself. It's a castle. It's called a castle. The restaurant is actually called a castle. It's a castle with a drawbridge and a moat You go in there, he's got the suits of armor, but it's a very classical French restaurant. And he's got an amazing program. He's got an amazing apprenticeship program. He takes students from Johnson Wales, and you will do a 2-year apprenticeship with him. But at the end of that period of time, Stanley will place you in one of the finer houses in Europe, if that's where you'd like to go. So he has got amazing connections over the world. But Stanley's been an amazing supporter of Johnson Wales and this program. This program would not have happened. We would not have had the Joel Robichons and the Paul Bocuse and David Burke's coming in here to do these presentations if it wasn't for Stanley's vision. So Stanley, he's 88 years old. He's going to be doing this for the next 20 years. And we look forward to it. I think Stanley's got a couple of words he'd like to...
Since 1977, this is the most dishes any DVC has done. 9 total dishes. I can't believe it. And it is unbelievable. But I also want to thank Chef Sylvain for all his hard work.
And the young lady who's receiving the scholarship fund.
Jessica.
Thank you all for coming.
Just so you know, Jess here is going to receive a $2,000 scholarship from Johnson Wales in Chef Burke's name, and she's been with him the last couple of days working in the kitchen with him and assisting him. So Jess is a freshman student from Connecticut, so some of you young students over here, I believe, are from Connecticut. Some Connecticut students here are all Rhode Island. They're all Rhode Island. But just know, as you're coming in, these are high school seniors who are thinking of coming to culinary school, or actually probably are coming to JW. So, you know, just know that there are some amazing opportunities here to work with people like David Burke. At this time, David, you're going to take your hat off. We'd like to present you with a medal, and this medal is the 165th Distinguished Visiting Chef Medal, which we present to the Distinguished Visiting Chef.
Thank you.
David, again.